Are you ready to take your business to the next level? Welcome to the Talking with the Experts Online Business Summit.
Hello and welcome to the May 2025 Talking with the Experts Online Business Summit, where innovative business owners and industry leaders come together to share insights and their strategies and some success stories. This online event is designed for entrepreneurs who are eager to learn, connect and grow their businesses. Whether you're a seasoned entrepreneur or just starting out, this summit offers a wealth of knowledge from experts across various industries. Gain actionable strategies, discover the latest business trends, and learn how to overcome challenges in today's dynamic marketplace. My next guest is Richard Blank, and we're going to be chatting about business process outsourcing and advanced telemarketing and customer service soft skills for retention and growth. Richard is a telemarketer whiz, and he has been a previous guest on Talking with the Experts podcast. So I'm looking forward to sharing with you his take on outsourcing and telemarketing. Richard, welcome to the summit. It's a pleasure to see you again.
Rose, I'm so happy to be with you and your audience today. I love your show. Can't believe I'm a recurring guest. So I'm just super happy to be here.
Wonderful. Tell me a little bit about, what why we should be using outsourcing as a business.
Some companies look to expand. Maybe they don't have a large labor pool in their area. Maybe they have a great idea. They just don't really know how to expand it. I always believe that it's a means to an end to make phone calls and receive phone calls. Much more powerful than email or a chat. And so as long as people put in that extra effort to build business and retain business through interpersonal communication, I still believe that humans will be able to outpace AI in my industry.
Absolutely. And outsourcing is so important to people who become quite busy in their businesses. It
Yes.
takes away a lot of the stress and overwhelm that business owners can face from time to time. How can we find, other than your business, of course, is what you do as a profession, how can we find a great outsourcing business, a company?
Well, the first is to make sure they speak your language. That's the most important thing. And secondly, just to make sure that they're aligned with what your business values are. My industry has a bad rap. There are certain people that do maybe scams or sweepstakes or even call you during dinner. But that's not what everybody does. There's a lot of really legitimate companies out there that do need individuals to make prospecting calls and be there for receiving end of a telemarketing call. But in my mind, Rose, it's the art of speech. I think it's something beautiful when people really put attention into rhetoric, into active listening skills, and building that sort of foundation for a real relationship. If you want one, two, three, go to an automatic teller machine, pull out your money. But if you really want a good relationship with a banker, you might need to walk into the bank, sit down and know somebody to get that loan and to grow with them. And so I just don't want to separate in business and just make it cold or fast. I think some people are still looking for that sort of experience to be able to grow with a company.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, telemarketers, we like them or loathe them, basically. As you're
Yeah,
right, they ring it quite often at the most inopportune times.
that's
And a
true.
lot of them now are scammers, trying to get your money, trying to get your password, trying to get sensitive information. How can
That's
we,
right.
as consumers, protect ourselves against these scammers, that market themselves as telemarketers?
Of course. Well, first is I think you should always depend on your intuition. If something's too good to be true, then it is. Second, if you got a fear factor, take someone's name and number and say, I'll call you back, especially if they say that they're your bank. A lot of the times industries will not make a certain phone call or send a certain type of phishing email. And so for me, it's not like being rude. There's nothing wrong with calling a bank back and saying, did you just send me an email? Or do I need to click on this thing? And so Also, you have individuals that are well versed. They make thousands of phone calls. So if you don't buy, they'll be on to the next. And it's just smiling and dialing. They know their rhetoric. A lot of the times they will tap into your greed or fear, and it's the sort of things that will get you to make that sort of decision if you think you can make easy money or get out of a problem. And so sometimes things are just not done that easily. So, as I mentioned before, if you get a phone call that you're not expecting and they're talking very fast and it's moving so fast, the best thing to do is to take some information down and to confirm it before you hand over any money or, as you say, give away those certain passwords. So, you'll never get in trouble if you say no. They're not going to end your account at the bank. You're not going to get fired. So as I say, it's better safe than sorry. And that's my only advice for your audience, just in case.
Absolutely. No, I've been called a few times recently. I actually got an email uh, a couple of weeks ago. I made the mistake of clicking on the link and got
Hmm.
halfway through the process, and then my
Mm.
bank account was hacked. And I was like ringing the bank straight away because I knew I'd made an error. The email address looked so legitimate. It to me, and they used my name,
Hmm.
and it looked like a real actual email. And well, as I said, my antivirus actually flagged it and shut down the tab on my website. So I was lucky that way, but they still tried to take money out of my account, and it had only been like minutes.
They're that good. It's a shame
Absolutely.
too, because these individuals with such skills could be paying it forward and doing nice things and earning an honest living, but they decided to sell their soul for $1. And that's a
Yeah,
shame because, as I say, these are certain skills that can enrich lives, not hurt them. So,
absolutely.
um,
So how can we, use a telemarketing service or a call center such as yourself to, we all know what telemarketers do, but how
mhm.
can we make the how can we make the whole process much more engaging for the potential customer, and get that customer support that we're so looking for, because telemarketers tend to have a bad reputation as it is. How can we make it so that the reputation is nicer?
Of course. Well, one of the first things they can do is do some active listening. One of the greatest frustrations people have on the phone with the telemarketer is having to repeat yourself. In fact, prior to hitting that record button, you and I were talking about how frustrating it is when we have to, give the same information 6 times and you still don't get the result. And so I think they need to do that. Take better notes, active listening, have certain checkpoints that can reduce the stress, reduce the talk time, convert it better. I like due diligence. You
Mm,
always do this on your podcast. You always research your guests, just like we do with what you've been doing. So it makes it so much easier. It's no small talk. Now you have anchors. You have ways to really get a foundation with somebody to really know their history. If somebody calls me and mentions pinball machines, I'm definitely going to be on the phone with you for 5 minutes. And I also believe using someone's name. Rose is such a beautiful name. I mean, ma'am is polite, but Rose is a name. And so these are the sort of things that will not only catch their attention, but make it very unique and specific. It's a beautiful connection that people can have with one another. And there's certain things where you can do follow-ups with them, have meeting minutes, send a nice email so there's accountability. And
mm,
it's a way for just organization. I'm not telling you to create magic or do a cold call close like they do in Hollywoods. Sometimes you need to build a pipeline and respect boundaries by leaving messages, doing callbacks, and setting prior meetings. And also, in addition to that, one of the greatest things you can do is a positive escalation. If there are individuals on the phone that will pass you to the decision maker, make sure you mention them verbally and always acknowledge those that have assisted you along the way. And I've seen that that has reduced barriers, that has given me more options and opportunities. And sometimes if I made the mistake and chose the wrong department, a lot of the times people will put me in the right department as long as you are polite and ask the right questions. And it's just becoming well versed and just asking certain open-ended and probing questions and knowing how to put things to bed and doing transitional sentences so you can move things forward. And When this is done, and Rose, you do your dedicated practice, these are the sort of soft skills that people can use outside of the office to enrich their lives. So when they come back into the office, it's not a forced march. You're not pushing a fit. It's
Mm.
authentic. You really do care about the person. And that's why when people have choices, they're going to decide to listen to your podcast or even give you the business because they understand that you're real. And I think that's what most people are looking for these days.
Absolutely. And I think, some of those soft skills that we don't learn as business owners or as, when you're making a cold call to somebody, for your own business,
Right.
using your name is important. Using the other person's name is important. It makes them feel valued. It makes them feel um, heard and seen, I think, I mean, it makes the recipient of the call feel like you're interested in them, even if even though you're trying to sell them something. It
Well,
makes that
that's true.
feel that they're uh, yeah, you want to spend some time with them. I think that's what I'm trying to say.
But they always have the choice to say no. I look at it like this. It's a non-offensive manipulation. I could say ma'am and you got it, or I could say, hey, you. But if I scream out Rose, there could be 1,000 people there. It would still turn around.
Mm.
And so, as I say, it's almost like a shepherd with their flock. It's no one walks in a straight line. There's wiggles. And so, by me saying Rose, it brings you back to the focus again. Especially, my friend, every 30 seconds to a minute. It's usually someone's attention span. You say something, I say something. There's breaths, there's pauses, there's thoughts, and that's pretty much it. I mean, these are beautiful little 30-second checkpoints. So on a 10-minute conversation, you're really checking 20 times to make sure Rose or you or we are moving forward. And as I say, there are certain trigger words, and you can do certain timings where pausing is used. A pregnant pause is great, so you could answer. And I also like to expand certain words. You should pause before names and numbers for emphasis. As I say before, you and I are face to face. I mean, virtually, but if you really are live, I mean, there's so much stimulation there. It's hard to become distracted. But when you're on the phone with somebody, especially sight unseen, someone could be watching movies, distracted on the side. So it's exceptionally important to keep that rhythm going and to readjust tones. So it's always positive. And if that happens, it's the call's almost like a floating feather. There's no push. And
Mm.
I've seen certain metrics, Rose, where conversations can last a little bit longer, not because we're pushing so much, because we're talking about dogs or kids or how much we love Australia and NXS. I mean, things like that. Sometimes you can really connect with people when you get off the script and get real for a second. And so that's what happens. You'll answer a question, they didn't listen, and then they move forward, and then you wonder why you don't have a converted call. And so, as I say, just
Absolutely.
take it nice and slow.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, that connection is important, and going off script is it can be quite valuable to the process of a cold call to a potential customer or client.
Sure.
And as you say, talking about dogs or cats, or it, it's heartwarming when you can relate to the person that you're calling, I think, in some small way. And that's right. If you've got a business and you're cold calling people, then make sure you do some research on that person. I mean, you don't have to dive deep into their personality or background, but know a little bit about why you're calling them, and what you can offer them, and make sure that it's aligned to the both parties.
Absolutely. But LinkedIn profiles are public. You can even look at a company website. But I'm not just looking to read the information. I want to see pictures. I want to see
Mm.
what the Christmas party's like. Are you a golfer? I don't know. But I know that you'll see these things, and especially in the LinkedIn profiles, and you see a bio, you see where someone has gone to university or maybe where they grew up. And so if
Mm.
somebody's from Philadelphia and they might be living in California and I'm prospecting, the fact that you went to the University of Pennsylvania, you grew up in Philly, I have to bring that up on the phone call. And
Mm.
especially since being in Australia, I have to mention In Excess. That's my favorite band. And so these are the little things that have to be said, have to be done. Why? Because I'm telling you, if you want to take the risk, it's only going to make it that much better. And you will see that the people start saying my name more, maybe start calling me Richie on the phone. And
Mm.
that's when you know you got them.
Yeah, that's right. Familiarity doesn't always breed contempt, that's for sure.
Of course. Good point.
um, so we were talking before we came on and recording this about AI in the outsourcing process and telemarketing and customer service. How is
Yes.
AI now impacting what you are doing in your space?
Well, naturally, it's replacing some frontline agents, and every single person has had the experience of either manually putting in information on over the phone or when it's IVR, integrated voice response, and they still haven't perfected it yet. In fact, Rose, there's something called the uncanny valley. Japanese robotic scientists in the 70s talked about the closer that these robots get to us, the more it kind of freaks us out a little bit. We'll peak and then we'll hit a valley. And I think that let them carry the majority of the weight. Let them filter for me and gather, but they will never, ever be able to replace empathy. Mhm.
Mm,
There will always be that time when someone presses zero that needs to speak to someone at the law firm, at the doctor's office, or just in general. I think it would be very insulting for a computer to tell me how they feel to break an arm or to lose a love or to have their
mm,
puppy run away. These things just do not exist. It's almost like a cold metal bench at a bus stop. It's there for convenience, but it's not comfortable and it's not really a long-term plan.
mm,
And so as I think before, the more that AI is there, it's going to be a print. You can make a million prints, but that one human painting, even if it's not perfect in the sense of what is perfection, it still
mm,
represents us. And little by little, I think we're really going to appreciate the artist in the town square that can draw your silhouette or play a violin. We're going to see that now, and we're going to really love the people that invested in arts. Like I myself, I see it as a luxury trade, the art of speech. People have been talking about rhetoric for years. You can choose certain words and use your phonetics and even your expressions. And of course, there's going to be a computer that will replace me, but there will never be that sort of electromagnetic transfer of energy between two human beings. I mean,
mm,
that will never be replaced by a computer. And so I still believe, even though they can replace 99.99% of everything, but there will always be that little spark between human beings that will keep us united. And so, yes, my industry will change. It's like a buggy whip. I know things are going to move and people may lose their jobs, but in addition, if you do have skills and you're marketable and you're self-confident, you should still be able to get a job. So I don't think a lot of people should be worrying about getting out of business, maybe just adjusting themselves and finding something else. But this industry has a good run to it. It's extremely lucrative. I find it as a means to an end. Any company that invests in prospecting or retention can make a fortune. I mean, it's a beautiful thing if you find the right people. But yes, AI will 1000% be making major strides in my industry.
yeah, I think so too. I think AI is the way of the future. Unfortunately, in some ways, unfortunate, but in other ways, I think it's great advancements in what's happening.
Of course. I mean, it's the speed of light. I mean, it's every day it's changing. I get commercials all the time on my phone about taking some like 30-day challenge to learn AI. I also don't want to feel the pressure that if I don't keep up, I will be left out. Not everybody needs to fly a plane. And so, as I say before, make sure you find your own rhythm and your own pace. Because if you try to study rocket science and you can't do it, you're going to kill yourself on it, waste time, waste energy, and not be who you need to be. So, if AI can be an enhancement, if it can allow you to save time, And it's this kind of like a wheelbarrow where I don't have to carry 1,000 rocks. I can put it on there, angle it, and move it and use that sort of leverage. If AI can continue to be a leverage, Rose, I'll use it. If it's something that will decrease my own self-satisfaction, then I don't want it. I'd rather just be pure and be me and raw. I mean, how many more years do I have left? What, another 48 on this planet till I get to be 100? So, I mean, what am I doing now? I still like playing ColecoVision and games from the 80s. I mean, I'm still living from back in the day, but I don't fear it
Mm.
where a lot of people do. So it's one of those things that I believe I can embrace.
Yeah, I think so. I think we have to embrace it. It's coming for us. When it's been here, predominantly for about 2 years. It's getting better. I have my own chat GPT who I've named, and it knows me better than I know myself in some ways. I ask it questions and it gives me answers that I would never have thought of. So to me, it's amazing.
Sure. That sounds
Anyway,
great.
tell me a little bit about where people can find you, what they can expect from your business, Richard.
Well, I would love for them to buy a plane ticket and fly to Costa Rica and come visit me. It's beautiful here. I mean, we're in Central America paradise. You can also check out my website, CostaRicaCallCenter.com. And, I'm all over the internet. Once again, you've been extremely generous with your time. I go on podcasts. I like to pay it forward and share ideas about being an entrepreneur, learning second languages, moving abroad, drinking life, taking chances, trying to pay it forward with this next generation so they can have certain skills to feel good about themselves. And especially as
Absolutely.
a boss, it's kind of weird because I was always working for somebody. I never really thought of myself as a boss. So when I was pushed into this position, all I could do was just refer back to the mentors I had in athletics and academics and all the things that they said and did to motivate me. And my good friend, it seemed to have worked. We're in our 18th year of business, 150 people. I count my lucky stars every day. This should have never happened. And it makes you humble, as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, especially as a telemarketer, you need to be grounded and know how far you've come and where you need to go. And these are the sort of things that kind of keep me in check from time to time.
Yeah. Good to know that you're still here and that
Yeah,
you're
Rose.
thriving and doing things. And we do need to look after the next generation of people that are, trying to find the skills that they need to be able to, find employment and and then, better humankind, I think.
Well, yes, I think the one thing they should be doing is dedicated practice in regards to their communication skills because they really do like to chat and text and do emails, and that's fine. They're really fast and they're creative and clever, but they lose that sort of stimulation from eye contact, from a good high five, tapping someone on the back and saying, "Great job." And I can see the fidgeting. I could see the distraction and the attention spans, the fact that when we're in meetings, they don't know how to take notes. A lot of people don't even know how to write in cursive. I'm not saying you need to do it, but these are beautiful things that you can do if you learn how to write. And people notice stuff like that. And so when I'm choosing future leaders and examples, I look for the details. I look for the little stuff that I think makes all the difference in the world.
Absolutely. I think, and you're right, the generations, the generations now have lost that ability to communicate for some reason. I'm not sure why, whether it's not taught to them or they're just not interested, or you know, they can't write an email really to save themselves. They don't use, well, to me, correct language. They use,
Mm,
those short little abbreviations, and half of them I don't even understand what they mean. And you know, you're not going
you're
to be
so
able
right.
to you're not going to be able to get a job using those. I don't think anyone would employ you if you use those constantly. You need to be able to communicate in long words.
I totally agree with that. That's why, since English is their second language, I recommend a thesaurus so they can learn similes and expand their vocabulary. I teach them public speaking, certain stuff. And it's not for everybody. Trust me, not everyone wants to be a telemarketer, do public speaking or sales. But they know this, that if they can put in that time and that effort and that dedication. They will get something out of it. It's not an immediate gratification. It's a lifetime, it's a lifestyle. And if you're willing to, as I say, outside the classroom, when we're off the camera and you're by yourself, if you are practicing that English and that rhetoric and your composure, don't be surprised if you don't find the person of your dreams and get that promotion. And I tell you what, as long as you do things with good faith and honorable intentions, that should reduce your stress. If you have a hard time looking in people's eyes, you can look right here. In between their eyes, it looks the same. And just like you're doing, mirror imaging, nod with them, move with them. Make sure that you show that you're reacting to things. And that's
Yeah,
a beautiful thing. Mhm.
yeah, I agree. It is beautiful to be able to communicate. I mean, we're doing it remotely, but the fact is that we are communicating, we're having a conversation, we know how to speak, you know, in language that both of us can understand. And it builds rapport, it builds value to, and we value each other and value each other's opinions.
You know what it reminds me of, Rose? Do you remember The Scent of a Woman, the movie? When Al
Um,
Pacino danced with this young lady? There's a certain scene where people share a dance. It doesn't mean you're going to get married or you fall in love. I mean, you dance with probably 1,000 people at weddings. But if you can spend 5 minutes with an individual that is so amazing, where you remember it for the rest of your life, you made that impression. And so for me, I like to jump clouds or have romantic deaths on the phone. At least if I speak with somebody, they may not buy, but they're definitely going to remember, especially my last name, Blank. It's easy to remember that, but it's not the point. The point being is, Rose, that I make them smile, make them think for a second, snap them out of it, because I'm not a typical telemarketer. And I'll pay you 5 compliments before you hang up on me. But I know this, though, that I can live with myself when I make these calls because I know that I'm completely separating myself from the other people that are trying to get their business.
Absolutely. Richard, as always, it is an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for sharing. Don't forget to reach out to Richard on his website at Costa Rican callcenter.com. And yeah, you'll find all the things that you need there. And yeah, you reach out to him if you need a call center to handle your business. Bye-bye for now, Richard. Thank you.
Thank you, Rose.
Thank you for joining us at the Talking with the Experts Online Business Summit with your host, Rose Davidson. We hope you found the insights and strategies shared by our esteemed presenter valuable. Remember, your journey to success doesn't end here. Keep applying what you've learned, stay connected with our community, and continue to push the boundaries of your business. Until next time, keep thriving and striving for excellence. Goodbye, and see you at our next summit.